hard work and trying that's all they are. They're strategies to get to the results. This is where we get hung up in life. We say, oh man, I'm working hard. That's self-esteem. Oh man, I'm trying, Marsh, man, I'm trying, just things aren't coming together. Bro, if you just rest on hard work and you just rest on trying, that's not enough, man. That's not enough, because that doesn't bring you results. I mean, you can have somebody who's got the best possible form. You can have someone who's got who can teach the discipline of everything. But dude, if they're not bringing the results, you got nothing. You know, on the podcast, I've talked a lot about self-esteem and having the importance of self-esteem. I even talked about on a recent episode on how my self-esteem kind of got shooketh a little bit. And so I just wasn't there. And I was kind of in my mind, where my self-esteem was down, my confidence was low, and some of it too, man, was a little bit of feeling sorry for myself, thinking that, man, I'm trying to do everything right. Why in this thing coming together? And it was reading on in yesterday's podcast, we talked about Gene Simmons' book Own Power. And reading on in the book, he talks about the difference between self-esteem and self-awareness. And the self-esteem movement started in the 60s. And it was the self-esteem movement was to more or less bubble wrap you and cushion you and absorb you, kind of shield you off from the realities of this world. So that way you believe in yourself, and that way you get the participation trophy in everything that you do. Everybody's a winner. And self-esteem and self-awareness aren't the same thing, although I always thought that they were. It's not the same thing. Simmons writes this. He says, the world does not care if it makes you sad or affects your self-esteem. The world, one thing you have to understand is the world is an unfeeling series of facts that you must come to terms with, or you can ignore them at your own peril. And Simmons goes on to write, he says that, your starter kit, the first thing that you need is, yes, confidence in yourself. That's your starter kit. But in order to finish the race, man, you have to have that self-awareness. And those two are drastically not the same. See, the next step you have to have is that self-awareness. And the self-awareness is coming to terms with that the world has rough and very sharp edges. He goes on to write that it's not enough to do your best. It's not enough to do your best. I mean, think about it. If you had a surgeon who lost a patient on the table, but he's taking off his gloves and walking out and say, well, I tried my best. Your best isn't good enough. See, that's why they have medical school. They have medical school to weed out the unqualified prospective doctors that want to be doctors. That's why they have medical school. So those guys who go through there and they say, oh, I tried my best, you're not qualified. And they fail you. You fail. Is it unfair for that person? Yes. Is it fair for the rest of the world? Absolutely. See, that's the difference between self-esteem and self-awareness. The self-esteem is, well, I'm trying my best. The self-awareness is saying, you're not qualified. You're not going to make it. You fail. Because it's fair. It's unfair for him because now he has to figure out what he's going to do in life. But see, it's very fair for the rest of us because now we don't get an unqualified doctor and we're laid on the slab there and all of a sudden we go in for minor surgery and he tried his best, but all of a sudden now we're dead. See, trying your best it's not good enough. Trying your best is not as important as the results. The consequences are important. And one thing that you have to understand is hard work and trying are merely strategies to get the results. You hear what I'm saying? Hard work and trying that's all they are. They're strategies to get to the results. And so many times, this is where we get hung up in life. We say, oh man, I'm working hard. That's self-esteem. Oh man, I'm trying, Marsh, man, I'm trying, just things aren't coming together. See, I've had that kind of mentality, but bro, if you just rest on hard work and you just rest on trying, that's not enough, man. That's not enough because that doesn't bring you results. I mean, you can have somebody who's got the best possible perform. You can have someone who's got who can teach the discipline of everything. But dude, if they're not bringing the results, you got nothing. And I can't tell you how many people I dressed out with that were athletes who were incredibly talented, man, who had way more talent than I did, but they couldn't bring about the results. I can't tell you over the years how many salespeople, really, really good salespeople. Bro, I could bring them in a classroom to teach the rest of the class. I could just sit in the back of the class. They were that theoretically sound, man. They were that good. And they could hold a clinic, man. They could tell you every time an objection came up, they knew how to counter it. But when it came downstairs and they had to go out there and put the feet on the pavement, to put the pencil on the table, they couldn't get the results. That's why, man, see, hard work and trying are just the strategies. The reason why, bro, you know these world-class athletes, the reason why you buy their autographs and their trading cards and you wear their jerseys is because why you know them with one name? It's because they're winners. They're winners and they bring about the results, man. Self-esteem is important to pursue the goal. But self-awareness is what's most important in accomplishing the goal. Because you got to think about it like this. If you have a hammer and nails and wood, it doesn't make you a contractor. And see, that's the self-esteem. The self-esteem says, well, I got all the materials, man. Why am I not getting the success? Because all you do is you have the materials. The self-esteem, any of us can go down and get the hammer, the wood, the nails. But the self-awareness is having that intimate knowledge on how all of those materials come together to build a sturdy home, a home that lasts for generations, man, and that is also beautiful as well. See, that's the difference right there between self-esteem and self-awareness. And so many times, man, we look at the self-esteem and we look at all of our materials and we're saying, oh, why isn't it coming together? It's because you're right there and you're looking at just the materials, but you don't have the self-awareness to understand that it is a harsh world, that it is a very unfair world, and how do all these materials somehow, some way fit all together? That's that hard part, man. That's the part that people aren't self-aware, because the self-awareness is having to push into the darkness, is having to fail over and over and over again. But all along the way, man, you're figuring out how things come together. See, if everyone wins, then no one wins. If everyone wins, then no one wins. And that's what the self-esteem movement is everybody gets a trophy, everybody gets a ribbon, everybody's a winner. No, not everybody's a winner. Because if everybody was a winner, then winning wouldn't be that special, would it? Every time you walk out the door, if you expect the world to cater to your fragile feelings, then you rob yourself of power. If every time you walk outside the door, and just because you're having a bad day, just because your dauber's a little bit down, just because yesterday, man, it was really rough, just because life's not going your way right now, if you expect the world to stop everything and cater to your needs, bro, you just gave your power completely away. See, that self-awareness is understanding. Again, it ain't right. Again, man, this is some BS. But that self-awareness is being able to take those different things and take the harshness of this world and use it to your advantage. Use it more so as leverage itself. See, self-awareness is acknowledging that we're not all built the same. We're not all built the same, bro. And you have a lot of disadvantages. I have a lot of disadvantages. And so, regardless of where you rank, because let me tell you something, man, there are people out there that are way more talented than you. There are people out there who are way more richer than you. There are people out there who are way more smarter, intelligent, talented, check all the boxes. There are some people that have E, all of the options, and you do not. You're lucky if you have one. Self-awareness is acknowledging that. It's acknowledging, bro, that you got this, that you have the disadvantages. But as Simmons writes, when you realize, the self-awareness is when you realize I don't have all the tools. I don't have the magician's bucket. I don't have all of the secrets, the ins and outs. I don't have the capital. I don't have the talent. I don't have the height. It's the self-awareness is understanding that you have tremendous disadvantages, but you got to do what wild dogs do. Adapt. Take your weaknesses as reality. And then acknowledge them. Find your strengths. And damn it, find a way. Recognize that your situation's unfair. Get over it. And win anyway. The way you do that is adapt. Remember, never settle. Keep selling your way through life, no matter what. Have an amazing day. Stay in the sales life.